Welcome to What Have You with Rachel Jankovic and Becca Merkel. This audio is brought to you by Canon Press. Before we get started, I wanted to mention that if you've enjoyed and been blessed by Rachel and Becca, there's really great news. We have just released the Canon app. You can get a 1-month subscription where you can find Becca and Rachel's audiobooks and listen to them absolutely free. Not to mention any and all previous conference talks they've done at Grace Agenda in the past. It's all in the Canon app, and it's all free with a 1-month subscription. Download it today in your app store of choice. Cheers.
Welcome back to What Have You. I'm Rachel Jankovic.
I'm Becca Merkel.
And we don't want to lose our treasure in heaven by boasting.
Yeah, but we're gonna.
But we are here.
2 weeks.
We are here on a
2
Sunday night getting ahead of schedule.
Weeks.
Yeah, we're basically, this means the whole week we're going to be ahead of schedule and everything.
Yeah, like basically my house is clean already simply
Clearly.
because we've gotten
Clearly,
a jump on
we've
this.
done it all now.
Yeah.
We've done it all.
All of it.
Since last time, I've now made chicken sausage. And
How is
it turned out you ate
Is
it
it good?
yesterday.
Did I?
You did. I brewed
It
up a
was
large
good.
scale batch of 20 pounds of chicken
recognize
sausage.
it as chicken, Rachel.
Yeah.
How did I didn't think about it very much, but
Well, that's how it happened.
it was good.
Mm-hmm.
It was really good. Are you happy about it?
Yeah, I was actually really surprised that it turned. I think my watch is going to keep dinging because someone's texting me, and I don't know how to make my watch go quiet. oh well. Actually,
Alas.
I am really happy with how it turned out, and I was surprised that it turned out as much like what I was aiming for.
Okay.
As it
Good.
did, because what I
Good.
did was look at a recipe that Hannah Stute kindly sent me because she heard me talking about it on the last podcast.
Okay.
But it was not it was like Roman chicken, some other kind of sausage. But I looked at the ratios of things that they had in that one, like how much salt to how many pounds of
Sure.
meat, kind of
Okay.
guesstimate.
Yeah.
And then I looked at the ingredients on the sausage that I was aiming for, and I just sort of
yeah.
whizzed the whole thing up. But I wasn't confident when I was doing things like throwing in however much vinegar and however much lemon juice. I wasn't sure that what was going to come out the other end was going to taste like what I was
Did you
hoping.
write it down? So
I did.
So the
I
next
wrote it
time
down.
you do 40 pounds.
I wrote it down, and I wrote down how much, because I blended up some red peppers to add to it, and then
Yeah.
the stuff. I wrote it all down,
Good job.
and then I ground it all up, and we had the saucepan hot, cast iron skillet hot, so we would just fry a little
Right.
piece of it and then taste it and
Yeah.
see how we
Yeah.
were doing. Go back and add some more salt and
Right.
mix it up. It was quite the party.
It sounds really fun.
Now I'm in it to do
the
all
one
kinds of
time-
sausages.
The one time that I found myself there with you are dinging.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
You're just really dinging. The one time I found myself there with the ingredients list from the product, and then a lot of other recipes, and then trying to put it all together.
Mm-hmm.
I still feel really ripped off about this, but I feel like I did do a medium good job of... It's like fairy dust.
When you hear
Fairy
the
dust
tone,
in
the
the
time will
background.
be.
No, it was... Maybe I've told this story before, but while we were living in England, I randomly bought this cereal. It came in this tiny box. It was nowhere near...
Oh yeah, I remember this.
Nowhere near
This
as
was
big as
your
a
big
thing of
quest to
Cheerios.
purchase Sultana raisins.
No, it wasn't sultanas. It was Chilean flame raisins.
What are Sultana raisins? Where did I pull that from?
No, there are
And
sultanas.
how did I forget
think-
Chilean flame?
I think sultanas are just another name for raisins. But anyway,
All right.
it was this amazing brand
I remember
of
because
cereal.
they were amazing raisins.
Yeah, they were.
when you got them.
They were,
Yeah.
but it was like this little box of cereal, and I bought it for myself because I knew nobody else would really cherish it. And it was just, Yeah, I feel like it was like maybe a quarter of the size of a normal box of cereal. Maybe a third.
Kind of like a baking soda box.
And I bought
Feed
it
the whole
'cause I was
family
like,
with this.
why not try that? And so I did. And then the first day that I ate it.
Oh, I remember this.
Yeah, no, because it was a real thing. The first day I ate it, it was amazing. I had an amazing day. And then the second day I ate it, I had an amazing day. And then the third day I was like, is this a cereal? Like, do I have this weird, like, surge of
Am
energy?
I basically a horse and
Like,
eating
yes,
oats in the
like,
morning is
it
really...
was this muesli, and it was incredible. And then I had Ben eat it for breakfast. And he used to ride his bike from our farmhouse into town. So we were just outside the ring road in Oxford, and he had to ride all the way into the center of town. And he was like, he came home that day, he was like, I was on fire. I was like zipping into town on my bicycle. And I was like, it is the power cereal. It was amazing.
It's a real post-hoc
And
ergo propter hoc.
It was, except for we tested it enough times that it was like, nope, it's the cereal. It gives you
Becca,
this incredible boost.
How did you ever quit working on this?
Here's the problem. They discontinued that version.
They did not.
They did. And
Probably it was illegal. It was... It was probably laced
incredible.
with something.
It was like this amazing. Well, it tasted amazing. It was such a rewarding bit of cereal to eat. It was like.
And I think I remember you questing around to make this.
Yes, because
you were just like, I've got to recapture
gotta
that
do
glory of that. If I can eat a cereal that does this.
Oh man, and I would eat it every single day if I could. It was so good. And it was this basic, like, muesli with a whole mix of grains, and I could figure that out because it was, like, different flaked, things. And then the only sweetener was malt syrup. And then, so there was some malt, and then there was a ton of nuts and a ton of dried fruit, but it was Chilean flame raisins. And I special ordered a box of Chilean flame raisins.
But the magic was never recaptured.
Well, no. I actually did a pretty good job one time. I was like, I think that I have done it. And I had written it all down, like exactly how many cashews and how many almonds, because there were like whole cashews in this cereal and
I
whole
could go
almonds.
for this. Why don't you make me some?
And then
I could use it on all levels.
It was so good. And you ate it and you just felt like you had been zipped up for the day. It was just like you have been
It's
packaged
probably like a serving
together
size
into
like
a nice
quarter cup.
tight, probably. But it was amazing. And I still maybe somewhere in my house have that scrap of paper that I wrote everything down on, but they have since discontinued that cereal. But I had the ingredients list, and then I had a bunch of other granola recipes, and then I had their website up, and then I had the box of Chilean flame raisins that I'd specially ordered.
They were big.
Huge.
Enormous raisins.
Huge.
Bigger
and I'm
than
not a
expected.
raisin fan. They were so good. And then, I don't know, I just feel like I really need to get back to that.
I think you should. I can see why you were
need to.
aiming for that. It sounds like
That's
a
your
good
Christmas
time.
gift. I'm going to go back on that quest.
Yeah, so I make a great granola that I always... I mean, it is world record setting decadent granola. That is the Food 52 Genius Recipes granola that is just so good. But the thing is that it is the most indulgent thing on all levels. Like, to make it.
Yeah, like, why not
To
just
make it
eat?
first, you've purchased the world's most expensive ingredients and combined them. It's an olive oil granola.
Okay. Is it like just make a tower of toffee and eat it for breakfast?
Well, no, it's not that it's that sweet. It has the big flakes of unsweetened coconut. The big pretty big flakes.
Yeah.
That I think you toast them maybe and add that.
Yeah.
And then it's pecans and I think it is craisins and pecans, but then I use some orange infused olive oil in it. So it's this orange olive oil and brown sugar, and it comes out in this like, and maple syrup. So it comes off in just this, like, mind-blowing deliciousness. But it has got to be, like, I don't know, 3,000 calories for a quarter cup.
That's probably why we
And
were
then-
up to such a great start in the morning.
Yeah, and then I... and then I would
Stuck the
be...
fire hot.
And then the funny part is I would always be like, this is so good, I should give it to people as Christmas gifts.
Oh.
Which is how you get down this trail of why am I making such an incredibly expensive item?
Yeah, right.
Because you give someone like a little treat bag full of granola and
they
it's
can
like,
have,
that, I
like-
mean, that was an investment, guys.
Yeah. So you can have one bowl.
Have
Cherish it.
you seen the cost of pecans lately?
Cherish that bag.
Yeah. So
I know.
I do it still on principle sometimes because it really is one of the world's best foods.
That's amazing.
But you don't
See,
really.
mine, yeah, I need to
It's
come
not
back
a
around.
wise way to eat.
Mine, I felt more godly about it because it had malt syrup, so you had to like get whatever that is. Like I bought malt syrup. It had bran flakes and oats and who knows what else. And I kind of did the same procedure as granola, where you kind of like toss it and toast it. Mm-hmm. And then it had a ton of whole nuts.
Yeah.
And a ton of whole
You were basically
fruits.
eating like a dry Larabar.
But amazingly
No, with
better.
grains, I guess.
But
yeah.
also with a lot of milk. So, seriously, I can't think of a better way to start your day off, really. It's like you can have your coffee, and then you could have this, and you have just...
You could just
hit
go
a
all
grand
day now.
slam.
You could just
yeah,
go all day
you're
now.
just ready.
Yeah.
You're ready for it.
How
Now
that
I
is
think
all
about
your
this, I'm yearning hard for it.
how is your Christmas prep coming along?
Well, I've got some thoughts in my head. How's your Christmas prep?
Real good, I think.
Really?
I have wrapped gifts.
What?
Yeah.
Where'd you put them?
Right now they're in my room.
I have some gifts, but I haven't wrapped them because I don't know where I'll put them.
I'm wrapping them as we go. I use the Manage Christmas app
Oh,
so that I can mark
we're
things.
back to this.
So I can mark things as purchased or wrapped. I don't really do anything with them until I wrap
Managed
them.
Christmas? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, it just helps me to know who I got a gift
not
for.
that's not the same app you've been recommending in other
Yeah, it
years.
is.
No, it's
it is.
not.
Back, it's the one I've been using.
Your other
so.
one that you recommended.
Unless I make something up that
no, it was
wasn't
something
true in
Santa's
previous years.
something.
It certainly wasn't. I've only ever used Managed Christmas, so I
Really?
think I'm an authority here on what apps I've used.
So.
Yeah. Well, anyways, that helps.
I
I'm
have
getting
your gift.
Oh.
You know what else I have? I have your birthday gift, and I'm feeling a bit affronted because I was really happy about it. And now I have a suspicion that you already have it.
Well,
And
if
I'm
it's a muesli that powers you up for weeks of work, then I don't have it yet. I need it. I'm in the
Oh, I'm
need.
gonna have to make some more of that stuff, but
Yeah.
I don't think I want to look at the calories.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what I'm telling you is that I've been doing some dalliance with thinking about Christmas.
Yeah, that's good. It's coming for us in kind of a high speed sort of a way. We're trying to finish our basement. So what I've mostly been doing is just sort of spreading a cloud of sheetrock dust all over the whole house. That's how I
Has
prepare.
a way of doing it.
Yeah, there's no real keeping it.
I'm trying to
Keeping
get
it
my
down there.
room painted, carpeted, and my front room finished wallpapering it by the end of Thanksgiving break. So basically 2 weeks from right now, Rachel, you won't even recognize my house. It's going to be so dealt with.
It will really be fixed. Everything will be fixed.
No,
by
I
then.
have my roll of carpet sitting there in my house. It's so good. It's so good. I'm so happy.
Yeah,
about
look,
it.
you sent me that picture of it. It
Ugh.
looks awesome.
It feels amazing on your feet. I'm just gonna probably have to just spend my time shuffling around on it.
That sounds ideal.
I know, and I did find a medium decent paint color. It's not as good as my one that I loved in England, but
I have.
oh well.
I want to bring this up because I think like I'm sure that in our listeners we have a wide variety of responses to Corona. situations and whether or not people think it's a good idea to be wearing masks. So I'm not here to like, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
How do you know I'm not going to say flatter you? I'm not here to flatter you. No, what I was going to say is I just have this observation that I feel like is really on my mind. But for some of you, if you were persuaded, if you're wearing masks all the time and you were persuaded that masks are actually preventing illness and et cetera, you might just have to suspend that belief for a moment to get on board with what I'm trying to say.
All right, so pretend you're in an alternative universe.
Well, no, there's a puzzle that's like, even if the masks are doing what people say that they are doing, the puzzle that I cannot figure out is why there are people like walking in the dark of the night alone with a mask on.
I don't know.
Or why is someone alone in their car wearing a mask?
No, you know what was really getting me today? I had to drive Ben to the airport because he's on a trip. So drove him up and back. And as you're driving along, you see these cars.
On a highway with no stop points. Yeah, it's not like they're...
Or the one that really had me in a confused was cars, they're just barreling them down the highway. One person in a mask, the other person not in a mask. And I'm like, how did you two get into the car together and come to this resolution?
Yeah,
like,
so
I don't know.
This is what I'm talking about, though. Like, or somebody who says that they're wearing masks in their own homes 24/7.
Because why?
Well, that I'm just saying, this is a live puzzle. And then one of the other things for me was, like, when you drive, like, on U of I campus, every last human has a mask on.
Okay.
Since when have college students or everyone at the skate parks been the society's most compliant?
Well, Rachel,
or we have experienced that, right? With the most outraged, the people who are outraged at our behavior of not Romans 13ing hard enough are the people who have never abided by a rule.
See, my question is, where are all the rebellious teenagers when you need them?
Well, that's the thing. And this is why I think it's a puzzle, because where are the people who burned all the draft cards? Where are the people?
The people who burned their bras.
Where are they now? They're the ones safety patrol officers.
Okay. I'm just going to sail out. I'm gonna do it.
All right. Becca's not as cautious as me.
Oh, she's the model of decorum, but I'm about to say something.
Always.
Here's the thing. This is what Ben and I were talking about. That generation that burned their draft cards and burned their bras.
Now they're burning down our civilization.
No, that is the same generation. It's the one that came right after the greatest generation. Mm-hmm. And if you think about our grandparents, they're the ones that did World War II. Like, they handled that. And then their children were the ones who didn't want to do something hard. Mm-hmm. They are the ones that said, we don't want to go to war. We want to stay here and go to college. We don't want to
stay here and fornicate.
To have children. We don't want to have to do the things. And we want to have basically ruin the economy with the Social Security thing.
Yeah.
We want to, and that's the group that is the high risk. You will endanger us if you don't wear masks. You're going to put us at risk. And there's a question of, like, has that been the toxic group for all of these years?
Because I feel willing to say maybe.
because they are all the ones who this whole time have wanted everybody else to have to do hard things so they didn't have to. Mm-hmm. And that feels to me like the MO of that particular group.
So what I was going to say is, though, about this is that I'm looking just from a cultural perspective of what's happening here. Those are the puzzles, like the ones that don't fit in even with, like, should you put a mask on when you're dealing with another person directly? The ones that are just like, why are you just putting a mask on in your own home?
Yeah.
What are you saving anyone from?
Because you have to watch out for the heat vents.
Yeah, or I saw a woman commenting that she has not had contact, she has not touched another human in 3 months. And she was like, it's hard, but it's what I have to do. And while it's legal for me to walk around my neighborhood, I won't do it, even with a mask, because I could be shedding the virus that might endanger someone.
Okay, now, and I talked about this the other day, and I have to really quick interject a story from Ben's childhood. Because you brought this up.
No, tell it right after this. Because let me connect the dot first, and then you tell it.
All right.
Okay, so the thing I was realizing is that COVID is invisible. And it basically is a sin that leads to death.
Yeah.
And we have a society that is walking around saying, unclean, unclean. I'm unclean. You know, like,
you're unclean. Nobody knows who's clean.
But the thing is that I think that COVID is a science-y sounding thing that explains the unbearable guilt of sin to people. Like, that we have this guilt, and we're like, oh, it's invisible, it's causing death, I probably should
have it.
So then having to wear a mask, well, no, I don't probably have it. I feel certain that I do because I feel the guilt, right? Because I already have this. And so wearing the mask is like something has to be done about this unbearable guilt. Now I'll tell your story.
Yeah, so when Ben was a kid, there was some lady that lived across the street from them. And I guess there was this constant scene going on over there where she was always trying to get it dealt with.
Like getting
for
bug
mold.
bombs?
Well, it was like mold. We're having to have the mold taken care of. Now we have an insect infestation of some sort. So we're having the whole place, bug bombed. And we're pretty sure we have. It was like there was always an infestation of some sort going on and trying to get dealt with.
Mm-hmm.
And then it turned out her husband was having an affair. And they got divorced. And the thing is that she knew that there was a problem, but she was misidentifying it. It was like she was paying...
I do want to put in here...
She was paying to have the mold taken out, or she was paying to have the bed bugs dealt with.
Well, she knew that the atmosphere was
She knew it was
bad.
toxic. She knew it was deadly.
I do feel like we should just put it out there that there is some possibility that maybe it led the other direction.
Of course.
But
these things are often a feedback loop. However,
a little closed circuit of the home.
But let's just take only that little snapshot.
No, I've always thought that was a thing that's insightful. That is an insightful thing into human nature, because sometimes you're just like, something's really wrong, and your idea would be, I must have an allergy.
Yeah.
Or I must have, it's just that you might be really right that something's really wrong. But you're looking
incorrect.
to atmospheric or physical or things when what you're having is a massive spiritual problem.
It's a sin problem. It is not a bug problem.
And that's really common to think that, and I think in our era, it's especially common because it's such a therapeutic era.
And we're
like, is your toddler disobedient? Probably you should hit him on the head with a chemical rock of some kind.
But the thing is, because we have a materialistic society, we don't believe there is such a thing as sin. There are only chemical imbalances.
Yeah, so you just gotta fix it.
If you can just tweak the formula a little bit.
Right. If you could just eat that muesli again.
I know.
You could be healed. You could be healed of your sins.
That one I'm gonna give a, there's what's the word? Parentheses. That's what I'm looking for. Parentheses. That one's off to the side. That one might help. However, like getting your house bleached out, or getting it treated for the black mold you're pretty sure is in there somewhere, or getting the lice taken out, or getting the woodworm.
It's such a common situation.
And I do think there's a horrible attempt at omniscience going on right now with this virus. Because
I told you, didn't I, that I ran into that woman who was like blaming everything on the administration, and she was like, every other virus we've been able to nip in the bud. And I looked at her like, what planet have you been living on? Viruses have always had the better of us. I don't remember a time when everyone was like, don't bother having a cold anymore.
No.
We know how to nip it in the
Don't
bud.
worry, the Democrats have the House, so we don't have a
So
virus.
now there won't be colds. The
Yeah.
flu is a thing of the past.
It's really funny.
So
I just
bad.
think it's an amazing need to track where each single thing goes and feeling like there's something we can do.
We have some power here
that's
when we
gonna
don't have
fix
power.
it. And it cracks me up because you can totally dispute about whether the virus is all that bad or is not all that bad. But let's just say for a second that it is all that bad.
Mm-hmm.
I'm reading the book of Amos to my seniors at Logos right now because we read a chapter a day. And gosh, is that relevant? It was like, I sent you plagues and you did not repent.
Right.
I sent you this and that and you did not repent. And it's like, let's just pretend this really is the plague. This really is the Black Death. God sent it to us and we said, nope, we're fixing it. We're going to do it with masks.
We have the solution.
And we're going to double down and vote for Biden. That's what we're going to do. And cheat to get him in.
I feel like I have to tell you this because today you were not at the same service as I was. But
Right.
we had a guest preacher.
But yeah, how was that?
Oh, he's great. But he grew up in Ireland, and he was a fabulous preacher, but he threw us all for a loop right off the bat by saying he was going to be preaching from Psalm 8. And I think we were all like, really? Like, I didn't know anybody nicknamed Samuel. Like, I really didn't, but we realized it was Psalm. He just says it's Sam. He's going to preach to us from Psalm 8. And I think we were all... so great. And the sermon was great. And it was Psalm 8 being the one about out of the mouths of babes and nursing infants has thou ordained strength because of thine enemies. And there was this point where he was saying that David is saying, he's looking at all the works of God, but the thing that he's really marveling at is man. What is man that you're mindful of him? And it was a great sermon. But that Luke and I both got the giggles when David talks about the strength of nursing infants. Like, he was like, nothing is coming out of their mouths that is strength. They need the milk of their mother. It's like they're like, and he said, David looks at that and says, you've ordained strength because of thy enemies. And then he says, David, catch yourself on. And I really loved that turn of phrase, like, catch yourself on. And I'm just assuming that meant, like, catch up with the facts of life. Kind of like, come on, get a real... But I feel like there's a lot of times when I should be saying, Rachel, catch yourself on. Get on with it.
Yeah, that might be the theme of most of my days, actually.
Yeah, but now I'm trying to remember, why did I say that? We were just talking about the corona thing. You're saying, that's what I was trying to say. I was thinking, catch yourself on with, like, how life actually, like, God is actually in charge. Well, we are not actually in charge of the viruses.
It's like deciding, everyone, we're going to take steps and prompt action so that the rain will behave in the pattern that we set for it. It's like
well, except for everyone's. As Luke was like, it's really interesting that when we were kids, the dispensational thing seemed to really dominate Christian life. And he was like, but now it's all the pagans that are immanentizing the eschaton.
Ragnarok.
They're like,
is
the world is ending if you don't stop it with your shopping bags now. The world is going to crumble apart.
I think the hubris has been amazing from the beginning because we have actually out loud, as a matter of public policy, said that we're going to handle the weather. And we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it by means of our plastic
policies.
Which container did you put your tin cans in?
Oh,
which container did you put your plastic bags?
You are not doing your part towards fixing the weather.
Now the thing is like the idea of fixing the weather is outrageous. And it's like, actually, this is a very old impulse because you have the pharaohs used to say that they were the incarnation of Ra or whatever, and they were the ones that made the sun rise. You know, this is
I've
pretty old.
seen that. I don't
Like,
know
we're
how
gonna
totally.
handle it.
I don't
We're
know
gonna
how
do it.
totally accurate this is, but I'm pretty sure it's. I mean, I know it's partly accurate. I just don't know how much it parallels with this. That, you know, when Moses and Aaron go to Pharaoh when they in the Exodus, that each one of the plagues was a direct insult to one of the Egyptian gods.
Sure.
And the biggest being, well, actually, probably the biggest would be the death of the firstborn, which would have been the next god, right? Like, because weren't they saying that pharaohs were gods?
Okay.
So the firstborn son would have been the next, like,
Well, especially
the heir
from
apparent.
Pharaoh all the way down. Yeah.
yeah, that will kill, basically, God is in charge of even the lives of your own, you know, throne. But then the darkness, they were known for worshiping the sun god, like to have the plague of total darkness is like your sun god don't got nothing. You know, like all of those, they worshiped the Nile, didn't they? So the Nile was turned to blood. Like there's, each one of those was a very deliberate and direct insult to their god. And if you want to parallel that with what we're going with now, the coronavirus is a very direct insult to our God, which is like this, we have the power over our health and our, like,
Well, not just
we
that.
can control what we
Think
decide
of
to
the moment
control.
we're in. Politics and science, we have thought are our saviors. And both of them are curled up on the floor having a twitch.
You kind of feel like it's worse than that. It feels like the Lord put them in the stocks in the public square. The two of them are just...
And they're not listening.
No, and they're still being pompous from their very difficult position.
Well, okay, but see, in Acts the other day, I was struck about Paul saying that God, like, put up with idolatry and people being mistaken. But he said, I'd have to look up the verse. He said something about, but he left a witness, and it was the rain. Like, the rain is a witness that is not true. It's like it was the creator God. And it was just such an interesting turn of phrase where it's like, all of us have the rain. And if all of us just looked up and noticed, and noticed that we're not in charge of that.
Do you know what
and that the
jumped out at me
creator
in
God
Acts? Is that when it's Ananias, isn't it? There's two of that one.
Sapphira?
No, not that one. The one who goes, it is Ananias, isn't it? Who goes to talk to Paul when he's like, really?
Okay.
When it comes to say go, he's
blind, yeah.
When he's blind. But I don't know, I'm sure I noticed it before, but it never like jumped out at me. That it says that he's on, like, at the street called Straight.
Yeah, I love it.
But as far as I can think of, that's the only time we hear the name of a street.
A physical address?
Right, like, it's sort of like, but of all the names of all the streets, to have it be the street that's called Straight.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking about how Dad always says that God draws straight with crooked lines.
Yeah.
And, like, the turning, like, Paul being turned from this total darkness and confusion that he was in. But that he's blind on the street called Straight.
Yeah.
But he's been saved. And I think that's almost like a Pilgrim's Progress reference in there. Yeah, like, it's just like...
Yeah.
Anyways, I thought that was funny. It jumped out at me. It's like, what a cool... I don't know. It just seemed like a... Maybe I never really noticed that the street name was in there. I don't know.
Yeah.
Either way, there's always something that you find that you didn't recall from before.
It's
so,
true.
Back to this masking thing, I just want to say, this is why I think it is such a weird thing that none of the typically rebellious people are being rebellious at all. And suddenly, the, like, world's most warm and cheerful Christian women are the great rebels having a wild time out on the town.
There has been a big switcheroo, because I think it is noticeable that some of the people who were the most huffy about our psalm sing, Christians who were huffy, not the liberals, who of course they were, But I mean, the Christians who are the most huffy about it are ones who, well, and I'm just saying the sample group of people that I recognized.
sure.
People that, like, on the internet, I
Hated,
know them, I have some past with them, and I see their reaction to it. They're the people who were the most flippant about rules. Mm-hmm. And so to suddenly
but when you say rules, that's in scare quotes, because a lot of like, you're not talking about like public. I mean, what we're trying to say is the people who were up in arms about Romans 13, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera,
and citing
were in
Romans
many
13.
cases people who would have rolled their eyes about not having sex before you're married.
Yeah, no, they were people who
it was
could
not
have been,
like, it was a very wild contrast. Not like
I actually happen to know that you were sleeping with your boyfriend, and that was being a problem with the church, and now you're going to get on the high
mad
horse
at the
and
church
say,
for not obeying the authorities.
You need to obey the existing authorities. And I'm like, since when has that been your MO? That's funny.
It's a question that you have to ask, is you're like, what happened here?
Yeah.
And then meanwhile, people who are just like, I know a number of like hilarious elderly women who will not, won't participate in masks or whatever. But one of the things I was thinking is that I think if you've done this, who knows how many of our listeners even do, I don't know, if you have gone somewhere without a mask and in a place where most people are wearing a mask, it does feel as awkward as hopping up on a bench to give your testimony somewhere. Because the reality is, if you just go with me for a minute in thinking that the reason everybody was willing to put a mask on has more to do with their consciousness of their own guilt and sin than it does
fear.
Guilt and fear, but it has more to do with fear of death and guilt over sin than it has to do with an actual virus or trying to prevent a virus. And if you believe that, and I'm not saying universally every person who has a mask on is doing that, but I'm saying I do think the only reason that this many people could have done that so compliantly is that the handles are on something else. Like the handles are somewhere else. It's much deeper. And so if you think when I go to the grocery store, all these people who are masked are being eaten alive with fear of death and guilt over sin, do you think that it is more loving to have the nerve to smile at people, which is a declaration that you know what it is to be forgiven, you know how to be rid of your guilt, and that you are not afraid? Like, and the reality is, it's far more loving.
And not only that, you have to psych yourself up for it, because I find myself, I'm not a person who loves to go get into a conflict with people.
No, in fact, go ahead. Say what you're going to say.
No, it's not my favorite thing at all.
No, I am not a fan.
And there's places where I know I can go without a mask, where I don't even have to think twice about it, and it's totally fine. And I might be the only person in there without a mask, but I've been there before, so I'm not really thinking about it. But then there's when you have to go to a new place and you're not really sure and you don't know how it's going to go. I just sit there having to like pray the whole way in that it's going to be fine and it's
you all
going to
may
be all
think
right.
of me as being a person who loves conflict, but I'm actually not that. It's not like I'm super into the conflict.
It's not
in fact,
good.
I've been totally avoiding Walmart indefinitely right now because I just hate it.
Rachel,
I just don't want to deal with it.
I haven't gone into Walmart.
I have.
Since the
but
day...
I can get in the mood where I'm fine with it, and I'm like, whatever. But if I can avoid it right now, I do, because I dislike the security guard time.
I just dislike the whole situation, so I'm figuring out alternate ways around it. However, it's to walk in somewhere with a bare face right now is not because you are, I don't know, a sheep. It's really quite the opposite.
It is a major endeavor. And if you're convicted of it, which I am convicted of it, I'm not going to be...
I feel like it's like they're making me wear a Biden t-shirt. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't.
Well, I did tell you, I did that at the Joann's. The guy was like, you have to wear a mask. And I said, do you want me to leave? And I was like, no, it's all right. I'll just give you a mask. And I was like, well, I won't wear one. Are you asking me to leave the store? Like, because,
Yeah.
you know, I was like, I'll leave. If it's a private business, I'll leave
Yeah.
if you want me to leave. I was standing there with Lena, and he was like, just looking at us. And I said, and I was like, I conscientiously object, so I won't wear one. Do you want us to go? And he was like, no, it's fine. Just go ahead. So we just busted on through, got what we needed, and left. But I hate having to have that moment with everyone.
And I'm like, I will drive to another town. I will order it from Amazon. I will figure out how to get it delivered, whatever. But I'm like, but when I walk in there, I'm not putting it on. I just
but this is the thing, is that it is, in a way, it's a real encouragement to realize, if I think that the whole world around me is walking around with their masks on, essentially declaring unclean, unclean.
Yeah.
As a forgiven Christian woman, my role in that situation is to declare, contrary-wise, clean. Yeah. I have been saved from guilt. Yeah. I have been saved from the fear of death. Like,
shame.
I have been saved from shame. I am saved from being so pushed around by other people's guilt and fear and shame. And the reality is, it's not easy, but it is something that I think is important that we do. And if I'm whizzing anybody up out there who's been faithfully wearing a mask to show that you love your neighbors, I'm not so small-minded that I think that nobody can be honestly loving their neighbors doing that. I just do think that, I think it's misguided, but it's not the same thing as thinking it's not. I'm not saying you have no love for others if you have a mask on.
Part of this is understanding that, we all live in very different little pockets, and so what's happening in our little neck of the woods is not the same as what's happening elsewhere. But
the contrasts of our little local picture have been turned way up to be very, very, very heightened. Like, it's very, it's...
I have a mask that if I really have to, I stick on, that's basically sheer, so you can tell that I'm in a bit of a funk about the mask.
I would say
situation.
that if I had a reason, like if I thought that I was contagious, I would behave very differently.
Very much.
I'm not, not that I'm trying to say, I'm not saying that COVID doesn't exist. I'm saying that it exists.
Go around licking doorknobs just for fun.
Right, but I think it exists in a culture that is conflating it with our sin problem.
Well, today I drove Ben to the airport, and then I was going to hop in the car and drive home for an hour and a half, so I ran in to use the restroom. Well, I'm not going to throw a big hissy fit at the airport. I just put the mask on, I walked in, used the bathroom, and I walked out, and that was it. And I'm not going to make a big last stand at the Alamo over that.
Why not, though? I mean,
but
who doesn't want to put in a few good hours with the airport cops?
It's like, you know what, I'm just going to do it because that's where I am right now.
Yeah.
And there are certain times to fall on your sword and certain times to not fall on your sword.
Well, I'm just ready to be kicked out of all locations in Moscow, but that keeps me from going in a lot of them.
I'm a little put out about Christmas shopping this year because there was never anything really to shop here. But you would go in anyway and grab stuff for stockings and you grab things and I'm just like, it's hard. I'm not going to.
It feels like this Christmas season we have to run with a weight vest on. And I'm like, all right, let's do this thing.
So a week ago, our fitted sheet on our bed tore straight across the middle, like a huge, like three.
Your linen one?
No, because my linen one did it too, and I had to have so it was this cotton sheets, but it just tore right across. And this is because probably, very likely, it was because I have a bedside table on either side, and our room is small, so the bedside table goes wall to bed to bedside table to wall. Like, it's very snug. And so when you're putting the fitted sheet on, you're stuffing it down in between the bedside table. Well, there are these doors on Ben's side, and I keep the laundry basket in there, and the hinge had fallen off, and so we just screwed it back on. The tip of the screw had popped out the side of it because it was slightly too long, so I think it kept snagging the sheet right there. Eventually, it just tore right across. I was very put out. However, it was time to upgrade the sheets anyway. But think to yourself, when your sheets have torn across from side to side, where do you go in this town of Moscow? Well, there's very few ideas. So
Bed Bath & Beyond Human Endurance.
So I
Walmart.
walked into Marshall's.
Marshall's, right.
I made a big, hello, smile at the man. I'm just walking. He shouted at me from afar that if I wanted a mask, he could give me one. I was like, great. And I just went. That's the first time I've gone in there. They didn't have a single set of king sheets. So I went home feeling very put out about the whole situation.
But at least I blew by that guy at the door.
I'm
of
I
Marshall's.
did that, and I don't really have any other idea. And then I had booked a grocery order from Walmart. And I suddenly thought, Walmart has sheets. And I looked, and they did have a set of cotton king-size sheets, and I ordered those on up, and I got them. And so I'm just saying, I'm going to weird lengths right now, but I am still not going to put the thing on because I'm like, no, can't.
Well, even if you are a committed masker, just consider it. Consider how you should interact with people.
I think
if you think that they're actually being eaten alive by fear of death and guilt over sin, how should your behavior, you know what I mean?
But also, there's a real, I think we're, did I already tell you the story of Toot Hill Butts?
Well, I think I've heard it, but I forgot it enough to be surprised.
Okay,
Go ahead, Beck. Give us the talk.
Where we lived in Oxford, we had to drive past every day this street, and it was called, I'm not joking, Toot Hill Butts. And you're like, how is that possible? And so we drove over there to be like, what is this thing? And the other part that's really surprising is that none of the English people seemed
to think anything of
they
it.
seemed to not notice that would be in any way confusing. And so it's a very serious road sign right there. A nice cast iron Toot Hill Butts.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, there it is.
Yep.
And you're just like, what's going on with that? So we drive over there. We drive down Toot Hill Butts. And what you find out is that it's a long, windy hill that takes you to the bottom. And then there you are. You're stuck. You can't get back out. It's a teensy-weensy little cul-de-sac down there, and we had to legit do like a 94-point turn to get ourselves back out. And I think this might have been the very place where Ben is trying to reverse and forward and reverse and forward and reverse and forward to twizzle around. And he kept biffing this shrub. And the lady came out and stood on her porch with her arms folded and just watched.
Oh, just to make you feel casual.
As we tried to, sneagle our way back out of Toot Hill Butts.
Oh, man.
And what you find is that Toot Hill Butts is a river of no return. You can't, you go down it, you can't get back. And I feel like our whole country has shot down Toot Hill Butts.
So you're just you're making us even less relatable to our English listeners.
2 weeks in a row, guys. I'm sorry. But it's like, I think that we've done it. We're down there and we're like, well, we're not going to come back out. That's for sure. And I just don't know what we think we're going to do.
It's so true.
We're down there. We're stuck.
Pretty soon we'll reach this paradise where everyone's at home with a mask on.
I don't know. It's like, I just think they're doubling down and then doubling down again. And
Washington has just released the deep, dark evils of... Basically, it's going to kill 100,000 jobs. I mean, it's winter now in Washington, and they're saying no indoor dining.
But the
at
thing
any
is,
restaurant.
they're trying to double down on their original decision that yes, this was worth it, and yes, it's
Yeah.
still worth it, and
Still
yes,
worth it. Great
basically,
decisions.
we threw the virgin in the volcano, and it's still making bad noises, so we're gonna throw a bunch more virgins in the volcano.
Moses and I had to use the bathroom at Wind Cove. We went in there, and there was a real lower class woman in there, and she's washing her hands or something. I was like, hi, whatever. But then she just turns to me, beaming really big, and said, did you hear they're giving everyone $1,200? And I said, who is? And she was like, I don't know, but we're all going to get a check. She's so stoked about it.
Lately, or was this before the first one?
No, I think it's a
no.
fresh $1,200 that they're sending to us from our great grandchildren.
Because nobody has to pay that.
Nobody has that much money. Anyways, she's just tickled pink that we're all gonna get $1,200, it's a weird thing because you're looking. I said, well, who is? And I was like, is this a federal thing or a state thing? She's like, I don't know. We're just gonna get them. I was like, oh my word, because here we have someone just super stoked about.
Just on the take. Well, okay.
Well, no, but like super stoked about, not at all concerned about the overarching infrastructure of the world.
Right.
Right, like not at all concerned that
that
whoever's sending us this dollars might not have it. Right, like just not reading any bigger narratives.
Right.
Just the one that's like,
I know.
I'm gonna get a new TV.
Well, the thing is, we're across the street from the Catholic Church, and there's a food bank right next door. And in most of the time, occasionally somebody rolls up to the food bank, but, whatever. It's not a big thing. Ever since COVID, it is nonstop. It's a huge event over there. And it's like there's no parking on the street. There's tons of people. They just stand in the front yard of the food bank until they get the stuff. They're bringing in like food trucks, like big trucks, like to unload everything into this big pile in the front yard, and they're giving it out. And there's this, it was soup night at my house, so I had gotten all the groceries, and I pulled up in front of our house, and I'm running it from my car to the porch and dropping a big pile and then running back. And there's a guy who's standing across the street from the food bank, so he's on my side of the street, and wearing like 3 masks and standing apart from all others. And on like my 16th trip to the car, he goes, that's a food bank over there. I was like, oh yeah. And he's like, they'll just give you food. He's like, you don't have to, like, they'll just give it to anybody. Like, it doesn't matter. You can just go get free food. It's like, oh, okay.
And it just gives you the, like, whoever is doing it, if it's a charity food bank,
of course
or whatever,
it is. It's the Catholic Church.
I know, but it's like good on them for their charity. But on the other hand, to not be the people with so little.
It's like you always want to be the person who is standing there trying to give, and not the person standing there trying to be on the take.
Yeah, like how could I scam this people to get some free goods?
How can I get some more free things?
No.
As opposed to like, how can I help?
I just want to bring this around to the heart of helping, which is that I think that this is the thing that Christians are bad at. And this is that we start with the key point that your salvation is free. And we think that everything should be free for us. Yeah. And it's really important.
Rather than, I should give it away for free?
Well, rather than noticing the fact that salvation was not either free. It cost God and it cost Jesus a lot. Yeah. It was a thing of enormous price that was given for free to you.
Who are we called to imitate?
Right. And so if we're imitating, we are giving things for free that cost us much, that cost us our, whatever kind of sacrifice, financial, personal, whatever sacrifices we're doing, we're giving it away for free. But it's not because it was a free item. We're not only called to give away the things we found on the side of the road, or we're supposed to give away what costs us much. And the thing is that when you have a lot of people doing that, it creates a very different, it is a signature thing of Christian culture that people give what costs them much freely.
Yep.
And people receive freely that they might give more freely. Like it is a really beautiful thing, but it's not like we are Christians are the big takers. We're not meant to be the big receivers of, and so many Christian women go around like that's what we're doing. We're looking for someone to give me. Someone needs to give me
couponing.
Yes, but I should be getting free encouragement. I should be getting free love and support and free admiration, and I should be getting free, like all these things
Meals
that everybody.
when I don't feel good.
Everybody owes me all of this stuff, and never what should I be giving away, and what should I. Who could I encourage for free? Who could I do something kind for free? And it is not a thing that we're super gifted at in this day and age.
Not right now.
No.
I mean, historically, that is what the church has been known for. But we've gotten ourselves,
a little,
perhaps down Toot Hill butts also.
Yes, and the thing is that mental position is something that we need to eradicate from our lives.
Yeah.
Because if you're going around thinking of yourself as the need person and everybody else is the giving capable people, then you are on the wrong path.
Exactly.
And especially as we go into this holiday season, I'd like to encourage you all to be looking everywhere for ways to give and not for ways to receive.
Keep your eye on the exports, not the imports.
Absolutely.
And I should just throw out there that by way of vindicating the poor English people that I've been throwing under the bus, I think that butts is related to our word butte. Like, I think it means like a hill. It's like a long hill or something. Toot Hill, I can't possibly explain to you, but I think that there's some linguistic connection there between a long, tangly hill.
It is just genuinely funny because it's like.
And if you're English, you probably don't know why, and I can't explain it. It's just funny. It's a silly thing to call something. Oh, no.
It's more than silly. It's a little coarse.
Well, it's a coarse jest, but turned into a serious road sign. But a slightly incoherent coarse jest.
Yeah. Oh, on that fine and edifying note.
It's a good metaphor, though.
We're gonna have to maybe sign off here without any further tips. Do you have a tip? Because I don't have a tip.
Didn't we already give some?
Wrap a present. Stay safe. Don't wear a mask. All right, until next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.